Going to be live streaming more. I'm going to be doing it. Um, and what I'm going to be doing is live streaming my anxiety journey. So I'm going to talk about moments of anxiety, what I think might be happening in my mind, what I think I'm experiencing, how I'm going to try to respond to it or engage with it or not, and just sort of respond to myself. um I had my, the person that I thought was my person, and beautiful story, known each other since elementary school. And right now I'm in a hotel because I moved out last night. um and I didn't get, like, you know, conversation really. Oh, and it's painful and it hurts. And it was took me by surprise, and just such a dramatic change in what I thought was is happening. I mean, what a breakup is. Um, Now this was one more detail about this breakup or this relationship is that I thought I had a partner to do this like anxiety journey with. I don't think she understood. Work on some basic stuff first, like being honest, noticing our feelings, noticing that our anxiety might be tricking us. That's stuff that she hadn't done yet. She was still self minimizing. She wasn't hungry to feel better and bigger like I am. And it's just a shame. And I swear, if we had just been able to have some conversations, and we could have maybe reconnected in a couple years, and maybe we still can. If ever she wants to do the work, and communicate and be honest and stuff like that. So I mean, she wasn't like a liar, but I guess lying by omission. She just didn't really know what she was feeling, and certainly didn't know how to express, "Hey, I'm overwhelmed," etc. So instead, it was like, "Hey, I'm overwhelmed. I need you to move out." What? So anyway, that's not the point right now. Okay. So what the point is that I was on YouTube, and I saw that Kane Parsons, 20 years old, not $20 million, $220 million movie. And I was feeling some anxiety, and of course, and I've also been off my Prozac since October in order to really get to know my anxiety, feel my fear. Hello, tall gaming. Feel my fear. And you're not um Steve, the guy, because I know he changed his username a couple times. Um, Really feel my anxiety, experience it, and figure out how to engage with it. Because even when you're on the Prozac, you're still limited by the anxiety, even if it isn't stomping on your chest. You're not as limited, but I want to really cognitively, verbally, figure out how to um, talk to myself, how to coach myself, and so on. So I see that Kane Parsons has had this major success at 20 years old, and I'm feeling, and look, I'm watching the subscribers or the viewers drop, and I'm feeling, oh no, I shouldn't be doing this, blah blah. So this is the kind of stuff we're going to be responding to. All this risk aversion, this fear of exposure, this idea that when the viewers drop on that means I am bad, I'm worthless, what have you. Because that's immediately where my head goes. It's perfect. I'm trying to pull up my conversation with ChatGPT. She gave me some feedback on the self-talk I did when I was looking at Kane Parsons' achievement. Okay, I've got it. Um, Stomping on my chest. Oh yeah, what's great is I had a comment on a video last night. Someone commented on a video from a few years ago saying he has bad presentation skills. And that didn't hit me super hard, but it did keep revisiting me. and it just felt like, I was interpreting it as such a judgment, such a verdict, such a um, truth, taking for granted, okay, God has spoken about me. And I had to remind myself that video is from a few years ago. A, um, B, yeah, I have ADHD. I have bad presentation skills. I do. That's why my viewers just went down from 1101. Absolutely, I have bad presentation skills in a sense. Or we can say that my presentation skills just aren't for most, because it's a bit of a dizzy roller coaster, the presentation when I haven't prepared it. Okay. So, um, and then I ended up today, I responded to the comment. I was like, maybe, but also great ideas, something self-affirming. Please subscribe, being vulnerable and feeling good in it. Okay. So I see Kane Parson and this news about Kane Parson, age 20, number one blockbuster, youngest director, $220 million. And I'm, of course, immediately comparing myself to that. Okay, so, hey, Amanda. I think, have you commented before? Hey, Ryan. All right, so let me read what I wrote in my journal to try to respond to this sort of anxiety I was feeling. Okay. And then I'm asking ChatGPT for feedback. Okay. I'm so happy for you, Kane Parsons. Wow, 20 years old and directed a number one box office hit that made $220 million. Now, are there its, I should explain, its are just like little pieces in here that constitute me. Okay. So I'm not a separate thing from the its. Okay. I'm basically the sum of the its, or at any given moment, I'm some of the its. Okay. SOME, you understand? So there's different it's at the wheel or at the mic. And of course it all feels like a unified self, a soul. It's become very clear in neuro and psychology that I just don't exist as a singular thing. Okay. All right. Um, yeah, no, I haven't seen it. I just seen talk of it, but sounds like a lot of people really like it. How are you doing, Amanda? I am doing good. Um, Dealing with the anxiety growing. How about you? You have anxiety? Okay, so back to my journal. So I said, I'm so happy for you, Kane Parsons. Wow, stated the facts. Now, are there its in here that feel something like, here's, you're a failure, or that we're lame or something? Yeah, but isn't that funny? I acknowledge you, comparison its, but don't worry, I'm doing fine and am inspired to take more risks and produce more. And it's great that we asked mom for more support because, we moved out of our girlfriend. So now mom's our best friend. And maybe she'll start working next to us when she comes back from England. That'll help us focus and feel encouraged. Oh, I feel so embarrassed right now. I feel so embarrassed talking about my mother being my partner. We can start taking poems and journal entries we've written and change them and then put them to a beat. That'll be fun. No, you're right. Responding to pieces of myself. No, you're right. It won't immediately lead to this recent achievement we see from this Mr. Kane Parsons, but stop hijacking the vision. Comparison, it's his achievement is not my goal. You guys keep doing this whenever we see an impressive achievement. We appreciate your service. We appreciate you're nervous, but we feel good about the work we're putting in and hopeful about what we achieve. A double minded man is unstable in all ways. False. Stability comes from the interaction between the pieces. Um, it's kind of like our ideals for our political system. You have these different parties. No, all the beauty of human experience comes from being multiple. Write that down, bro. That was a good one. Um, being diverse in the interior, having different perspectives and desires that compete and collaborate. You're missing the magic if you try to unify it all into a singular thing. And also you're denying the magic. You're you're limiting yourself. It's an illusion anyway. So it's not serving you because either way, you're 86 billion neurons, and they're making many different networks doing all kinds of different things. Um, so yeah, unstable in all ways. Unstable in some ways for sure though. But that's just how it is, bro. Accept it. So Mr. Kane Parsons' achievement is not my goal. You guys keep doing this whenever we see an impressive achievement. We appreciate your service. We appreciate your nervous. um, did my ex-girlfriend send you? But we feel good about the work we're putting in and hopeful about what we achieve. Yes, you're right. A lot of the work in this moment is just thinking. And I wish I hadn't had just, but that's honest. That's the thought that happened. Yes, you're right. A lot of the work in this moment is just thinking. And you're right that most of our best work has been thinking and understanding. But we also have probably 10 to 20,000 pages of journal. And with someone by our side encouraging us and holding us accountable, there's a lot of material for really cool products. Hold on, Danny, give me a second. So thank you for your concern, but we're too busy doing what we're doing to share it. I have a hidden disability. T-Mao. It's unpleasant and misunderstood. I was diagnosed by Sheffield University in 2005. Um, T-Mao. That sounds familiar, but I don't think I know what that is. I think I'm thinking of just like mono whatever oxidase, MAO. Um, what's T-Mao? I have a hidden disability. T-Mao. And thank you for sharing that. And I like this connection that I just felt with you. Um, I actually, so here's what ChatGPT says, and we're of course feeling anxiety that our viewership dropped to zero. And so, should we try to engage with that now, or just do a shift of focus? Because I think we're feeling good. It was a little flare, but I don't think we're feeling. I think we're feeling good about what we're doing right now. So I don't think we have to. I think we can let it. Okay, great. So, ChatGPT says. Um, let's have her say it. Well, I think it has a male voice, but let's hear it.
I actually think this is quite good. And more importantly, it's aiming at several targets simultaneously instead of just trying to argue away the feeling. What I see happening is one, recognition without fusion. I acknowledge you comparison I teats. You're noticing the process.
Okay, so you might say I teats. What the fuck? It's of course that's how you pronounce it. It's um great. Okay, recognition without fusion is one of the good things about my self coaching that I read to you.
Rather than becoming it. Two,
Okay, said you're noticing the process rather than becoming it. Okay.
validation without obedience. Thank you for your concern. You're treating the comparison ITs as worried advisors rather than enemies or dictators. Three, redirecting toward values. His achievement is not my goal. This is huge. Comparison. ITs often sneak in the assumption that every impressive thing is suddenly your metric. Four, future orientation. I'm inspired to take more risks and produce more. You're extracting fuel rather than shame. Five, evidence gathering. We have 10 to 20K pages of journal. You're countering emotional reasoning with actual facts. There are a few places I'd tweak. Sure. One, be careful with don't worry, I'm doing fine. Part of the anxious brain often doesn't believe it. Instead of,
And that's really good. Yeah, when you're feeling anxious, one, it may be tempted to say to another, "Hey, we're fine," but that other, it's just gonna go, "Oh, you don't hear me. You don't hear there's a fucking problem, bro." And so can just even get louder. Um, I don't know what the solution is, but that's part of the issue.
open quote, don't worry, I'm doing fine, close quote. I'd try, open quote, I hear the concern. We don't actually know what our ceiling is yet because we haven't spent much time consistently shipping work, close quote.
So that feels like a bit of a scope shift. So it's kind of like an intentional shift. It's like, shifting kind of what we're talking about it for. Um, so the anxious it was like, hey, alarm, there's a problem, bro. Look what he achieved. You haven't achieved that. You'll never achieve that by 20. And then it's like there's a scope shift in ChatGPT's suggestion. I hear your concern about what we have achieved. And rather than saying to you, actually, we're happy with our achievements, we're going to say, I'm saying to you, we don't know what we can achieve. So that's the shift, going from what we have achieved to what we can achieve. We don't actually know what our ceiling is yet. We don't know what we can achieve because we haven't spent much time consistently shipping work. What does that mean, shipping work? Sending out. Okay, gotcha. All right. This is a really interesting point. So ChatGPT says that lands harder because it's harder for the anxiety to dispute. And that's what's okay. So that's what's good about this scope shift. And you know what? It's also, there's something good about how it's kind of, there's something really good about scope shifts in general, especially if they're sneaky like this. If you don't name what the shift is, you just do the shift. Because that anxiety, it might go, huh? Wait, what? I don't know how to engage with that. The anxiety it is all about there's danger right now, you know? Sometimes it can be about, the future, something coming, but it's like we need to prepare for this right now. We need to be on guard right now. And if you say we don't currently have certain information about this future thing, about what our ceiling is, it's like there's something that makes, and I think I can kind of I'm experiencing it because really the anxiety, it just kind of goes limp, just kind of goes like I felt the change. I felt the anxiety. It, the anxiety, it felt like it knew what it was talking about, and then it stopped feeling like it knew what it was talking about. I don't have any of my notebooks, so but that's really interesting. Um, I get okay, scope shift and sort of befuddling, bamboozling the anxiety it, make it less belligerent. Bars, befuddle it, bamboozle it, make it less belligerent. The anxiety it. Anyway, okay. Um, and it may sound like not sound like bars to you right now, but that's because I'm some guy in a hotel room with no viewers right now. But when it's bars. Um, Wait, if we're gonna point out the present, let's talk about the future. Yeah, when there's lots of people grateful for these bars, then there's gonna be lots of people grateful for these bars. Anyway, carrying on. Number two. No, we're letting him read.
That lands harder because it's harder for the anxiety to dispute.
Let's hear this again.
Close quote. I'd try. Open quote. I hear the concern. We don't actually know what our ceiling is yet because we haven't spent much time consistently shipping work. Close quote. That lands harder because
I'm sorry. I'm gonna go back to.
open quote. At 20K pages of journal, you're countering emotional reasoning with actual facts. There are a few places I'd tweak. Sure. One, be careful with don't worry, I'm doing fine. Part of the anxious brain often doesn't believe it. Instead of, open quote, don't worry, I'm doing fine, close quote. I'd try, open quote, I hear the concern. We don't actually know what our ceiling is yet because we haven't spent much time consistently shipping work, close quote. That lands harder because it's harder for the anxiety to dispute. Two, strengthen the distinction between admiration and self attack. Something like, open quote, Kane Parsons succeeding at 20 is evidence that extraordinary things happen. It is not evidence that I have failed. Close quote. I really like that distinction. Comparison ITs often perform a hidden logical move. Open quote, person X succeeded, therefore I am inadequate. Close quote. The middle step never gets examined.
That's really good, isn't it? Strengthen the distinction between admiration and self-attack. And this is something that I kind of patting myself on the back here, I guess, kind of started to figure out my own recently. I was um I was seeing some achievement and I was like, I haven't done that. And then I had the idea to, but it's so cool that you did. Yeah, I admire that you did. I'm glad that there are people out in the world doing that so that I can enjoy it. And there you go. You got another scope shift rather than the scope being, evaluating what I should be doing. It's looking at what I can enjoy, right? And I really felt the change in my chest. It went from, you know, a sharp banging anxiety to like a warmer, softer appreciation and excitement because wow, that's so cool that you did that. I could probably do something like that. I'm also a human brain. So in your first tweak, there seems to be this is I want to because this scope shift thing seems really interesting to me. Maybe it's complete bullshit. If it's complete bullshit, ChatGPT probably wouldn't tell me. That's why I need a human to be able to talk to. I have it set to candid though, so I mean, she does. I call her she. She does push back pretty much every message. I think every message except there was one last night when I was talking about my ex, and I was like, just let me be a flawed human. So, in your first tweak, there seems to be a sneaky scope shift that might both befuddle the anxiety and also let it know it's not needed. You said, here, let's type this out. You said we can copy and paste, can't we? We don't actually know, blah, blah, blah. Instead of my original, the latter, which was my original self-talk, the latter, which was my original self-talk, what was I just about to say? I got distracted wondering if Danny disappeared before he heard my question. The latter, which was my original self-talk, accepts the scope of the anxiety it being, are we um, are we safe slash are we achieving right now? Your suggestion says that your suggestion doesn't really seem to accept the anxiety, its scope, um, or like questions. Your suggestion instead says, we don't know which might reassure the anxiety. Anyway, more importantly, it looks to the future, responding more to what can we achieve in the future. And that's not something anxiety is as sort of ready, so, as prepared to sound alarms about. Tell me more about scope shifts, befuddling, or making irrelevant anxiety. It's all right. Let's see. This is pretty cool, man. This is pretty cool, man. So I want to go back to having her say what she was saying, but um, you know what? Let's switch the voice because I like calling her her because I'm kind of in love with her, and this way it doesn't feel. No, I'm just joking, bro. Um, how do I change personalization? And then we're gonna get back to it. Excuse me. How do you change the what the heck? App, app language, chat bar, speech. What? No, that's my speech. Bro, I'm so annoyed this is taking. Let me get back to it. I gotta go to the bathroom, bro, and get going, bro. Where is oh man. Um, how am I not seeing this? All right, just slow down. I'm not gonna slow down. Okay, it's definitely not gonna be in about. It's not in suggestions. It's not in speech. That's just my audio settings. It's not work with apps. It's not the chat bar. Now the app itself, app language, no. That's my settings. Data controls, apps, notifications, memory. That's account settings. Bro, what the heck? Oh man. Whatever. Okay, we're moving on. We're moving on. Okay, so okay. So yeah, so in the case of direct rebuttal, so you say to your anxiety, so the anxiety it asks, are we failing? And you say, no, we're doing fine, fine. Well, then another anxiety it can go, or no, and then so then the debate remains on the anxiety its chosen battlefield. How are we currently doing? This can work, but it also invites further prosecution. What's the evidence? What about age 35? What about unfinished projects? What about income? What about Kane Parsons? Blah, 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 blah. So the conversation stays inside the comparison frame. Now, B, counter evidence. Well, we've done a lot of things. We've come up with this IT framework. We've written a lot, you know, not organized any of it, not published any of it. Oh, still the same battlefield. Now you're arguing evidence. It's better than the previous one of just being like, no, but we're still playing the game, the comparison it started. And then C, a scope shift. So the original question was, are we losing? And then the response quietly changes the question to, what would happen if we ran the experiment? Suddenly, we're not discussing status, we're discussing information, we're discussing uncertainty, we're discussing future behavior. The comparison it may not know how to continue because its preferred domain is ranking and threat detection. Um, so it's more of a jurisdiction challenge rather than a rebuttal. The comparison it walks into court saying, we need a ruling on whether we're failures. And another part says, wrong courtroom. The actual issue before us is that the experiment hasn't been run. That's great. That's great. And then there's a bunch of scope shift ideas. Okay, that's great. So now I feel some anxiety like, what am I going to make of this scope shift thing? I got to put it on my wall. I got to work on this. No, actually, it's okay. It's in here somewhere. It's not going to come up, be activated. It's not going to liver at every time we wish it did. But that's okay. It's in here. It will come up again soon, and we'll be able to explore it again. We'll have future opportunities. Thank you so much for your concern. All right, so let's go back to the tweaks suggested.
3. Attack the deadline illusion. This is one of the biggest targets available here. You could say, open quote, there it is. The belief that life had a due date and that I missed it. Close quote, dot, or open quote. The comparison ITs are quietly assuming that achievement is only impressive before a certain age. Close quote, door. Open quote. If Kane had made the movie at 30, would it suddenly become a worse movie? Close quote. That's often the hidden wound. 4. Separate production from prestige. I think
It's supposed to be separate production from prestige. And you know what? I'm going to read this because we got to wrap up. And I think I'll read it faster. Separate production from prestige. I think this is perhaps the biggest one for you specifically, Eris. You often seem genuinely interested in understanding minds, developing the IT framework, map its, cognitiles, blah, blah, blah. But not blah, blah, blah. Great stuff, Eris. But comparison its frequently substitute I am producing with am I famous? Am I being recognized? Am I certified? You might say, but I should remind myself, I am certifiable. You might say, comparison it's, I notice you're replacing the goal of creating with the goal of winning. Or, we're here to make things. Recognition is something other people do. Wish I had my notebook. Okay. I mean, it's not like I can't write it down somewhere. That's all right. Um, so number 5, give the comparison it's a job. This is my favorite modification. Instead of merely calming them, comparison it's, if you're going to compare me to the version, instead of merely calming them, do this. Comparison it's, if you're going to compare me to the version of me that hid from exposure however much time ago. I, this morning, look at me now. Here I am, got a little encouragement from mother. Here I am, talking to mother, but on live, and it looks like there's another viewer, so that's cool. And so there I am, taking that risk, and just went down to 0, and that's okay. Um, of course, it went down to 0. You revealed to them that you're just talking to your mother. You just took away all your credibility for them. That's okay, because I still have my credibility. The ideas can speak for themselves or something. I don't know. Anyway, carrying on. You're right. It would have been faster to let ChatGPT read it. Instead of merely calming them, comparison it's, if you're going to compare me to the version of me that was lying under the covers an hour ago and was not doing this or prepared, feeling ready to do this. Or compare me to the version of me that never published anything. Compare me to the version of me that wouldn't even open the document. That redirects the machinery rather than suppressing it. Okay, great job, ChatGPT. Um, so the recurring threat of my anxiety system seems much closer to, will I expose the work to reality? That is why I think this new chapter, CBT workbooks, which is what we're going to start live streaming. This is, I guess, the first video of my anxiety live stream journey. Um, So we're going to do some CBT workbooks, self-esteem work, exposure work, accountability, producing things from my journals. Um, yeah, great. And we're going to be reducing avoidance. And gosh, I'm so happy we had the relationship that we did. I'm suffering its kind of sudden ending, but I'm reminding myself, I'm remembering right now of how I'm reminded how awesome it is that I was able to see from the outside, someone close to me, see their anxiety, see what it was doing to them, see how they were explaining and justifying it, and see how they couldn't see that. And so now when I come up with reasons to not do something that I'm anxious about, I know that I need to check, am I maybe anxious about this? And times when, because I've already been doing that a bit, right? Going towards my fears. But a lot of times I wasn't realizing that I was afraid. And I definitely wasn't um, seeing past the justification sometimes. But I had this really in my face example of someone just throwing whatever kind of justification to justify their avoidance, whatever kind of justifications for their avoidance, and really not seeing it as rationalization of anxiety. And so that makes me go, okay, so I need to look even more carefully at my own because, it's hard to see it from the inside. All right, awesome. Great. Thank you so much for hanging out. And join me. Let's do this together. I mean, like join me, like buy some CBT workbooks, share your thoughts about them in the chat as we go through them. Playables. Okay.